Welcome back. A Fox Business alert now. A former FBI employee reportedly under criminal investigation. He's accused of falsifying documents tied to the surveillance of 2016 Trump campaign staffer Carter Page. The alarming report coming just weeks before the release of the DOJ Inspector General report. Joining me right now in a Fox Business exclusive is the former foreign policy advisor to then candidate Donald Trump, Carter Page himself. And Carter, it's good to see you.
Great to see you, Maria.
Thank you so much for joining us. So first, let me get your reaction to what we know here. This, of course, is in light of the fact that you were surveilled, you were wiretapped. They had to get a FISA warrant to do so. And now we find out that this FBI lawyer falsified documents to get that FISA warrant, which ended up being surveilled. What's your reaction?
Maria, my reaction is this is more of the same. They have been falsifying documents and providing false testimony in the courts of law for years now. Just last year, in my one case, on January 30th, 2018, the Southern District of New York put a false pleading, misleading the court about abuse of process and the FISA abuse. And then 2 days later, then Chairman Devin Nunes at House Intelligence totally proved them wrong.
Yeah.
So we've known these things are wrong for a long time, but the fake news and the Democrats keep pushing this false narrative.
I want to ask you about that, this fake news that you referred to, because the media was involved in helping one side actually drive the story of President Trump colluding with the Russians for 3 years. And our audience knows how outraged I was about, this collusion conversation based on no evidence. So for 3 years, we were told that there were people within the circle of Donald Trump that needed to be investigated, including yourself, because they had these ties to Russia. Tell us what happened. Explain to us what happened for those people who have not been following this as closely as you and I have.
Yeah. Maria, listen, they have just been putting false information out there to the media, the Democrats and their allies in Washington in the media, constantly pushing lies after lies. And then finally, this gets picked up by a court. It gets picked up by the Comey-McCabe FBI, and they got a warrant, a fraudulent warrant, I believe, to spy on myself as a way of getting into the Trump campaign.
So you were surveilled for a year, and you had to renew those FISA warrants. What, 3 times? So 4 times.
Well, they had to renew it, and I had no say whatsoever.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what keeps happening and it's the same thing with the Inspector General report and with this case that I'm going to be arguing today in the Second Circuit.
Yeah, I'm going to get to the Second Circuit in a minute, but we were just looking at a Carter Page entrapment line. You were basically invited to tons of conferences in Cambridge and international conferences by who we know today to have been an informant of the government, Stefan Halper. When you were first getting these invitations from Stefan Halper and others, what did you think?
I give people the benefit of the doubt, and I knew that I never did anything wrong, and all the people I worked with on the Trump campaign, our foreign policy advisory committee, these volunteers, they're some of the best people I've ever worked with in my life. And
so you trusted them. You trusted them.
I definitely trusted the people on the Trump team, and I knew that, in terms of interacting, having the right of peaceful assembly with other people around the world, there should be no problem with it. So I thought there'd be no issue. Little did I know that some people would have some agenda. So
what was their agenda, do you think? Tell me what happened in the last 2.5 years to you.
Well, I always I continue to give people the benefit of the doubt, but unfortunately there has been a big cover-up. As I mentioned, then Chairman Devin Nunes and Chairman Lindsey Graham and Chairman Chuck Grassley have been, from the Senate Judiciary Committee as well, have been showing through very intensive investigations all of the wrongdoing by misleading these federal district courts in the United States. And so that is a serious offense. And unfortunately, there has been a continued cover-up to this very day. We still don't have the truth, but hopefully we'll get that soon.
So you were saying the media reports. Basically, what was happening was you say the Democrats were putting out news, quote unquote, and Yahoo picked it up and others picked it up about you having these relationships with Russians. Is that what you're saying? And then
Exactly.
those news reports were used as a justification to get a warrant to surveil you.
Yes, absolutely. But even worse, those calls from the media started in July of 2016. So I get calls from the Washington Post, New York Times, CNN, all these
And they're
media.
asking you what?
They're asking me about these same two false allegations, which the Democrats, their consultants, and their lawyers were all pushing. None of them picked it up, but finally they found someone from Yahoo News to put out this defamatory information to the world and really interfere in the U.S. presidential election.
They wanted to dirty you up. They wanted to say that you were some, enemy of America working with the Russians.
Well, yes, but I think they wanted to do much more than that, too. Most importantly, and the main reason they're doing it, is they wanted to dirty up then-candidate Trump and the entire Trump campaign, and it really was a dark cloud hanging over the campaign until the election in November 2016, through the transition, and going on years now into the early years of President Trump's first administration.
So we know that those FISA warrants had to be re-upped. They were re-upped 3 times. You were surveilled for more than a year. About a year? It's
90-day renewals. The first one was submitted by Sally Yates, then the Deputy Attorney General, and James Comey in October of 2016. Then they renewed it again just a couple of weeks before the inauguration in January of 2017, and 2 more times.
And we should point out that you were never charged with anything. You were never charged with any wrongdoing.
Absolutely.
You're walking around. They listened in on your phone calls, not just to hear your phone calls, but to get a window into what was going on in the Trump campaign.
Absolutely. And it's actually even worse than that, Maria, because not only was I never charged with anything, I've never been asked any question by any of the federal investigators, either DOJ or FBI, that even made any sense or, hinted at any criminality whatsoever. So it's not even just clear and convincing evidence. It's just there's no evidence whatsoever because I never did anything wrong. And all the people, my fellow volunteers, low-level volunteers that I worked with on the Trump campaign, they were, again, some of the best people I've ever dealt with in my life, the vast majority of whom are U.S. military veterans and clean as a whistle.
And we should point out that they were surveilling you for a year, getting all the plans of the Trump, campaign, and then never charged you with anything.
Yeah.
So there's that. You have a court hearing today. Tell me what you're expecting.
Well, similar to the FISA court, where they only take one side of the story. So far, the Southern District of New York only took one side of the story. And so now I'm appealing in the Second Circuit, which is one step below the Supreme Court, one of the most respected courts in the United States. And I'm cautiously optimistic that they will actually listen to the truth. They actually gave me a hearing when I was not even granted a hearing at all, right when I was getting all these death threats. The Southern District of New York never gave me that. So I'm hoping they can start reversing this very bad trend.
You make a really important point, because once that group started throwing things in the media and Yahoo picked it up and others picked it up, your name was out there. You started getting death threats.
Absolutely.
And then you told the DOJ, look, I'm getting death threats.
Yes.
And
that was one of the main things. In March of 2017, that's the main thing the primary thing I wanted from the FBI. I had around 10 meetings, 5 meetings at over 10 hours with the FBI, and I was asking for their help. Instead of helping me, there was more criminal leaks into April, the following month of 2017.
What an ordeal this has been for you, Carter.
It's been an ordeal for our country,
though. How it's impacted your life. You're an innocent American. You've never been charged with anything. You go to try to work with the Trump campaign. You get wiretapped, surveilled. You're never charged with anything. How has it impacted you?
I always look from the big picture perspective, Maria, and I look at all the damage it's done to President Trump, his administration.
What about you, though? You're walking around anonymously. You're afraid of who's following you behind you. I mean, there's been a real impact to you personally, hasn't there?
Well, Yes, absolutely. But, first and foremost, we need to fix this disaster in our judicial system and the DOJ. And I think U.S. Attorney General Barr has started taking some very important initial steps since taking office in February of this year. And I think things are heading in the positive direction.
And John Durham's investigation is a criminal investigation. We are waiting for the Michael Horowitz report, the IG report, coming out, we understand, December 9th. What should our viewers understand about the IG report, the forthcoming IG report? What do you think it's going to tell everybody?
Unfortunately, Maria, I was never given any opportunity to testify or get interviewed by anyone. You didn't speak to Michael Horowitz. I never spoke to him or any member of his team. They did allegedly fly over to London to go spend time with the DNC consultant, Christopher Steele. So he had his say. Christopher Steele is the author of the dossier. Well, one of the authors of the dossier. I think, as some investigative journalists, your team at Fox have started to find, there are a lot more people. Yeah, and John Solomon has reported that as
absolutely. Well. But tell us really what the story is in the IG report. What do you think we're going to learn? Because I think you and I have followed this so closely that we understand that this was the framing of Donald Trump and his team. How are they going to prove that in the IG report? What do you think is going to be most damning from your standpoint?
I wish I could tell you. Unfortunately, according to the Privacy Act of 1974, if there's a system of records about someone, they should be allowed to review and provide comments and ask for edits to it. Okay. I was never given that chance, so it's hard to say. But I think this is one step in a very long process. I'm so appreciative that Senate Judiciary Chairman Lindsey Graham and his committee are going to take
Michael Horowitz
steps after this. He's going to speak on
December 11th. So we've got the Daily News here, and the title is "Shame on GOP Sham." This is Russia expert slamming Republican fictions to defend Trump as Dems rest impeachment case. What do you know about Fiona Hill? And tell me about her relationships, as you know them, to the players in the Russia framing, the collusion framing.
I've been a Russia scholar for many decades now. I only met her once. She's from England originally, and I met her at a think tank in London once, a decade and a half ago.
She also knows Christopher Steele.
Yes, another Brit, someone who's from the UK and she's from the Brookings Institution, and there's been a lot of involvement. We keep learning more and more about Brookings' involvement, and Strobe Talbot, who I also have spent some time with in the past. He's someone who has
connect the dots. The Ukraine hearings to the Russia collusion investigation. What should we know about the connection between the two?
To me, it's the exact same thing, where Congressman Nunes and his team, Congressman Jordan, Congressman Ratcliffe, they're trying to tell the other side of the story. Right. They've never been allowed to.
What is the other side of the story, Carter?
I think it's the same thing, just like then Chairman Nunes did with the Nunes memo and the House Intelligence Committee's very deep investigations. They unveiled all of this wrongdoing by the DNC, their consultants, and their lawyers. And unfortunately, there's just been a big cover-up, and nothing's been fully disclosed as of yet. And that is exactly what's happening once again as a way of damaging President Trump in this shift show.
All right, we will leave it there. You've got a big court date ahead. Anything you want to leave us with ahead of this court appearance that you're going downtown right now?
Well, I just thank you, Maria, and your team at Fox, because you have exposed the truth. When all of these other media organizations have been trying to throw out this fake DNC, Democrat propaganda and lies, you and a handful of others have really done amazing work. So it's literally been a lifesaver.
Thank you so much, Carter. We will be watching the developments. Carter Page joining us. We'll be right back.